Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers on the broadcast today, coming to you from Washington, D.C. in the brand new studios here in the House of Representatives. On the broadcast today, Congressman Stephen Horsford of CD4 here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers Goes to Washington is brought to you by Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. NV Energy. NV Energy proudly serves Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers. University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. Compassion, accountability, integrity, respect.
The casino industry drove Nevada's economy for decades. By the 1990s, however, the state's sole industry was in sharp decline. Many were losing their homes, many were leaving the state. Is Reno on track to be the Detroit of the West? Was an October 2010 Reno Gazette-Journal headline. Nevada knew it was time for a change and a time to diversify. Story County took that lead, took risks, invested tens of millions transforming its desert into a place of opportunity and a future for Nevada families needing something new. That desert now provides thousands of high-paying tech, advanced manufacturing, and energy careers at companies like Tesla, Panasonic, Google, Switch, and Redwood Materials. Story County transformed Northern Nevada forever, and the tide of opportunity has raised all vessels through construction contracts, high-paying careers, and the power of payroll. Tens of millions have been generated in sales and property tax, permits, and other revenues for Reno, Sparks, Washoe County, and for all of Nevada. Enough, in fact, to generate a surplus after public services are provided. And best of all, a sustainable economic climate has been created, enabling our children to stay in Nevada and live prosperous lives in their home state. Story County, improving Northern Nevada one industry at a time.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from Washington, D.C. in their brand new House recording studios. We're delighted to welcome back to the program Congressman Stephen Horsford of CD4. Great to have you here, sir.
Thank you, Sam. Always good to be on.
So you are now chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. What does that mean to you?
Well, first, it's only possible because the voters in Nevada's 4th District allowed me the opportunity to continue to serve. And so as chair, I was elected by my peers in the Congressional Black Caucus. There's a total of 58 members, soon to be 59, with a new member out of Rhode Island. It's the largest in our history. And our job really is to represent our constituents. Collectively, we represent 80 million Americans across the United States, not just Black Americans, but people who are concerned about issues around healthcare, jobs, the economy, how we create opportunity that's equitable, that lifts every community and doesn't leave anyone behind. We're known as the conscience of the Congress in that we do advocate for issues like voting rights and social justice, environmental justice issues. And I'm really honored to be able to lead the caucus this year, particularly at a time when democracy, voting rights, the institutions like our schools and the courts are under attack. It's an important role because it's an important moment to protect these fundamental freedoms.
Okay, so your thoughts on voter integrity. Where are we with that at this point in time? Because it seems that there's been so many lawsuits that have failed. The judiciary has made their points clear. District attorneys, sheriffs all across the country have said that these elections have been fair. I mean, there's always going to be a certain percentage of fraud. It happens out of a country of 330 million people. You're going to have issues. but not to the extent to change elections. How do we lay confidence for people to know that when they go to vote, in whichever manner they vote, that their vote is going to count?
Well, first it starts with reauthorizing the Voting Rights Act. I didn't know when I first came into Congress, some laws are not permanent, and the voting rights law has to be reauthorized every so many years. And this is the first time in 40 years, in fact, Republicans have not worked with Democrats to reauthorize something that was first signed in the law by a Republican president and has been over those 40 years. So actually this week we will be reintroducing the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Enhancement Act. This is a bill that codifies the cornerstones of the voting rights, which essentially just ensures that we have integrity. And as you indicated, really there is not election fraud. What we have is election suppression of voters not being able to be heard because of barriers that are put up in some states, challenging of voters in some states, telling people they can't drink water in lines or you can't pass out water in lines to voters. Those are the types of things that we have to codify through the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act.
And where do you feel you are with this at this point?
Well, last Congress we passed it 3 times in the House. Unfortunately, the Senate did not because of the filibuster. And so we are making another attempt. Why? Because this is not a partisan issue. It shouldn't be, in fact. Voting is an institution for all of us, regardless of party, regardless of you're a Democrat, Republican, or Independent. All of us should be able to have our voices heard. All of us should have our votes counted, and all of us should feel confident that those votes will be certified and not challenged like they were in the last presidential election.
What are your thoughts on the whole concept of voter ID? Because, you know, as you well know, the argument is that for everything in life, you need an ID. And there are people like me that say that if you don't have an ID, I am more than willing to pay additional taxes to make sure that everybody who wants to vote and doesn't have an ID can get an ID no matter what their income level is. How do you feel about
that? Well, the issue is you have states that are very abusive, in my view, in how they apply this standard. For example, why is it not okay for a student to use a college ID as proof, but someone can use their hunting license or their fishing license as proof? Where's the sense in that? So we've got to have standards across the board, particularly for federal elections, which is our role.
Sure.
Yes, states have a role in setting their own standards, but for federal elections, for Congress, for Senate, and for the president, those standards should apply across the board. And the other thing, Sam, is, look, we have an issue in our country where not everyone participates to begin with. So my argument would be, before we create new barriers to civic participation, let's open up the process so that more people feel welcome to have their voice heard. It's the cornerstone of democracy, is having a voting system that's fair, that's free, and that's open to every eligible voter.
Let's change topics a little bit. Something that surprised me and in a way pleased me was in learning that this year you no longer had to go through an incredible security process to be able to get into the people's houses here, both the House of Representatives and the Senate. But at the same time, my thought was, well, what we went through on January 6th was of such great concern that it kind of surprised me that security had appeared to be at least relaxed. And there are some that have said that, you know, during January 6th, there were people who are actually members of the houses who were helping get people into these 2 buildings. What are your concerns about the security levels that are currently in place, if any?
Well, what happened on January 6th was not just an attack on the U.S. Capitol building. It was an insurrection against our democracy, which again is about having people's votes counted and certified, and literally the attempt to overturn and overthrow that process, and to put members, including at that time the former vice president, in danger and potentially causing death and injury, which we did see with Capitol Police officers. So it's very serious. Yes, there have been new security standards that have been in place by the U.S. Capitol Police, by the Sergeant of Arms. We've been briefed as members. But it is important that this institution be made open to the people. We are the people's house. In the House, we are the people's house. And I do believe that those who travel here from throughout the country should be able to see their government. They should be able to meet with their representatives. Yes, there should be certain protocols put into place to keep our staff safe, to keep members safe, to keep the public safe. But that's true everywhere across the country. Why is it only an issue of public safety here and not in communities that are dealing with gun violence or police brutality or anti-Semitism and anti-Asian hate? We need every community to be safe, and the U.S. Capitol should be no exception.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back more with Congressman Stephen Horsford after this timeout.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from Washington, D.C. We continue our conversation with Congressman Stephen Horsford of CD4. There's an eviction crisis growing in Nevada. With the end of the pandemic-era tenant protection laws and federal eviction moratorium, evictions are up over 170% from where they were before the pandemic. In August, you sat in on an eviction court proceeding in North Las Vegas to see the issue firsthand. What were your key takeaways on this?
A lot of anxiety on behalf of tenants who sometimes, due to no fault of their own, were unable to pay, and because of that, were at risk of being evicted from their home. And I thought it was important as their representative to sit through a court proceeding to observe what the process is, what they have to go through, what the barriers are for the judge, and the limitations that they have in being able to provide relief. To hear from the landlord's perspective, because many of them come to represent their view, because they've got challenges in paying the mortgage if someone's not paying the rent. But the unfortunate part is there were solutions that were offered during the legislature. They passed the legislature but were vetoed by the governor. And the effect of that now is there's fewer options available to Nevadans. And at a time when we're recovering from the pandemic, when our economy is finally getting back on track, people are still trying to get on their feet. And look, I heard from veterans who were in that courtroom. I saw disabled seniors. I saw pregnant women with children in the courtroom. And so my heart goes out to people who are looking for options and solutions, and there's none available because there was a decision made to take away some of the few tools that were available to the state and to the courts. And because of that, tenants and landlords are now struggling in a way that I just don't feel like they should have to be.
Have you talked to Governor Lombardo about this?
He and I've talked to his chief of staff, and look.
So you're a former colleague, Ben
Keffer, yep. And you know, I understand everybody has a point of view here. My point of view as a federal official representing 700,000 constituents, many of whom are disproportionately affected by the housing affordability crisis. It's not just the eviction issue, it's why are homes and rent going up 30%? You know, why are seniors getting renewal on their leases, not of $20 increases, but $200 a month increases? And when I start to look and research, I'm seeing these out-of-state corporate speculators that are buying up properties that have a higher propensity to jack up rent. They have a higher propensity to pursue eviction. They don't take care of their properties, which lowers the values for everyone else. That's why I introduced a bill called the Home Act that would give HUD the enforcement ability to go after market manipulators and fine them, and to take those fines and put them into a housing trust fund so that we can actually build more housing. We can't only focus on the eviction issue and not focus on making homes more affordable for people, whether that's first-time home buyers, veterans who are trying to use their VA benefit, or people who are just trying to rent because they can't afford to buy in this current market.
Okay, so isn't part of the solution getting a Clark County lands bill that would open up land that would then make it more affordable for builders to build?
Absolutely, and I was very pleased that BLM just announced all of the new land releases in southern Nevada will be at $100 per acre, which will be used specifically for housing. This has been my argument from the very beginning. We have to prioritize the land we have for the needs we have. I'm for economic development, I'm for commercial expansion, I'm for job growth, but you have to have places where people can afford to live. And under the BLM's decision, they will be able to release that land for $100 an acre, which will make the developer's ability to build and sell those units at more affordable prices. And I just met with our city and county officials who will manage that process, and I'm looking forward to see the type of developments. For example, in the northwest part of my district, there's a development that's going in to help our service members out at Creech. We don't have affordable housing for our service members, let alone the people in civilian life.
Same story in Fallon.
Absolutely. So having these type of targeted projects, you know, a lot of times when you use the term workforce or affordable, suddenly people don't want it in our neighborhood. These are working people. These are nurses, they're teachers, they're firefighters, they're service members. They're our neighbors, and we need to make sure that we have housing available throughout our community, not segregated in just certain neighborhoods.
Okay, so what did you make of the change in name for Nevada State University?
I supported it. I think President Pollard and the students at Nevada State University made a very compelling case.
She's amazing.
She's incredible, and I'm very pleased at the work that they've done. Look, it's a 4-year degree granting institution. I was in the state legislature when we approved
That's why
the
I bring
first
it up.
money
Yes.
to establish that school. But the idea was always to create more opportunities for Nevada students to go to college, to be able to afford college. I was a first generation college student. I attended and graduated from the University of Nevada, Reno, but when I went to school, we only had 2 options for a 4-year degree, UNR and UNLV. Now we have 3 and more that are continuing to grow. as well as our community college system. And so I believe in creating more opportunities, and I think Nevada State University, especially with their emphasis around nursing, around education, especially early childhood education, the focus around helping matriculate students from the community college into the Nevada State University system. This is how we create opportunities for the next generation.
More with Congressman Stephen Horsford after this time out.
Big R in Sparks is located on Bering Boulevard next to Smith's and across from Reed High School for workwear and everyday wear, evaporative coolers, outdoor living, Weber's, Traeger's, and Lodge. Fill your propane tanks here. Big R on Bering Boulevard in Sparks next to Smith's and across from Reed High School. Big R. Hardware, clothing, and a whole lot more.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their homes. At Nevada Heating, call the Do It Right guys and get the air conditioning back on today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why sweat for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your air conditioning fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585 or schedule us on our website at nevadaheating.com.
Fantastic cocktails and delicious food. It's a good time to eat. Over 500 hot slots plus electronic table games.
It's a good time to play.
Player rewards and big-time jackpots.
It's a good time to win.
Ooh, your good time's a tamarack.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers in the brand new house studios here. This is the first day that they've used them for taping shows, and ours was actually one of the first being taped here. So it's a pleasure to be here with Congressman Stephen Horsford as CD4. Lithium, huge deal in Nevada. We've got Thacker Pass up near Winnemucca, but in your district is Ioneer. Yes. Your thoughts on they're finally making it forward?
Hey. I've been to the site in just outside of Tonopah. I supported the project along the way. I'm glad that they were able to work through some of the environmental considerations in partnership with the University of Nevada, Reno, and the School of Mines there. But look, this is an opportunity. We cannot get to electric vehicles and the goals of zero carbon emissions if we don't have the resource for the electric vehicles, which is lithium. And we have more lithium ore resources in Nevada than most other places in the United States, in fact, around the world.
Yeah, they say that Thacker Pass, for example, is the largest deposit in the world.
And so these are the types of projects that are important. You know, I know there are other considerations with Thacker Pass, and I've monitored that issue. It's outside my district, so I'm working in consultation with Congressman Amedee and the senators. But for Ioneer, this is about creating economic development outside of Tonopah, jobs. We really want to see the reprocessing of the lithium close to or around that community so that not only are we mining it, but we're processing it. We've got to address other critical needs, including housing in rural Nevada, education, and workforce, because the people who are going to be working at that facility are going to need to be trained, and I pushed Ioneer to make sure that those investments are local.
One of the most remarkable things about being in Nevada at this point in time is that the whole state, in a good way, is on fire. I mean, between Tesla in the north and Ioneer and Thacker Pass, and the developments on the Strip. We've got Formula One coming up. You've got the Ivanpah Airport, that is going to be a $12 billion investment just based on a 2019 number that Commissioner Gibson gave me. Have you ever seen anything like this in your professional career?
Well, you know, I grew up in Nevada, so I've seen a lot of changes, and I am for economic expansion. I'm for growth. I believe in job creation, but I'd always have an emphasis on how are these projects benefiting our local communities, and how are we ensuring that the infrastructure, and I mean all of our infrastructure, from not just the roads and bridges, but broadband and housing and healthcare and our schools, which, you know, we hear constantly about the concerns from parents about the ability for our schools to keep up. So yes, every one of these projects are good overall for our economy, but we still have to be laser focused on how it affects and how it benefits local people. And I'm working in partnership with our state legislators as well as our local officials with the Las Vegas GEA, Global Economic Alliance, to make sure that these considerations remain at the top of the priority list, particularly as we bring companies from outside Nevada, because they have to understand it's not free. It costs money to invest if you're really going to grow and be a good partner for us in the long term.
And that's where we have to leave it. Never enough time, always a pleasure. Thank you for doing this as always.
Thank you, Sam.
And we'll be right back.
It's the $100,000 Cash is King Progressive giveaways at Carson Valley Inn. Giveaways every Saturday with a Progressive up to $20K and $15,000 in guaranteed grand prize giveaways. There's another 100,000 reasons to play and win at the Carson Valley Inn.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Event Center sits at the heart of the Las Vegas Strip. 2 floors of meeting and event space are ideal for groups and conventions. Stay in one of 200 luxurious rooms and suites. Brand your event throughout the property. Flexible event spaces make for easy planning and personalization. Take over the entire hotel with a full buyout option.
Nevada Newsmakers Goes to Washington is brought to you by Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. NV Energy. NV Energy proudly serves Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers. University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. Compassion, accountability, integrity, respect.
Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from Washington, D.C. We'll see you on the next broadcast here from Washington. See you then.